Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. There's lots to get through this morning, and there's a lot of negative stuff to get through, and there's a lot of positive stuff as well. But before we talk about negative stuff, I want to talk about Allan Reid. Allan reached out to me at the weekend trying to see if we can organise a minute's applause on the 15th minute of the game this weekend. And what I'm going to do, we'll get today out the way, and then as of tomorrow morning I'm going to try and get that to happen. Allan's daughter sadly passed away she was only 15-year-old, and as you could expect, he was completely devastated. Big Celtic fan, and may she rest in peace. She was troubled with autism and ADHD, and she sadly took her own life. You hear so much about that, and you feel for the younger generation today, because even one of our daughters has had several friends who have sadly taken their life, and it's something that, you know, we need to raise awareness to. So my thoughts go out to Allan. I will do a specific video for this for Allan tomorrow, and then we'll try and push this on to try and get to raise awareness for his daughter and the fact that she did take her life, and to let other kids out there know that, you know, there are people that they can talk to in their darkest moments. But let's get on to Celtic. Let's get the negative part of the video out of the way. The Celtic Fans Collective, the supporters demand change. Until it comes, it's not business as usual. Yesterday, the affiliation of Registered of Celtic Supporters Clubs, the Association of Irish Celtic Supporters Clubs, the Boys Celtic, the Celtic Disabled Supporters Association, the Celtic Supporters Association, and the Green Brigade received an invitation from Celtic FC to attend a meeting regarding policing of the Derby match back in March. Now, if you remember that time, fans were going to walk up from the Celtic Supporters Association club down next to the Barrowfield, and they were going to walk up in numbers, but they were kettled by the police. And whilst Rangers fans were allowed to walk into Celtic Park with face masks on and snoods and everything else, the Celtic fans were held until way after the game, when kids were held, weren't allowed to go to the toilet or anything like that. And Celtic fans demanded answers. In conjunction with the Celtic Fans Collective, the supporters groups have unanimously voted to decline this invitation until Celtic FC signals an intention to answer all of the questions raised in the open letter. And they want to begin to engage positively with the wider support. We have no confidence in meeting with the club under the current leadership. I can understand why they've done that. I can understand why they've done that. Is it the correct way forward? I think that sometimes entering into a more friendly negotiation type thing, I mean, it's okay standing your ground, but sometimes standing your ground doesn't work politically. And it's obvious that the Celtic Fans Collective are trying to run this like a political campaign. But sometimes you have to win the hearts and minds. I'm going to get on to a minute, Des. I'm going to get that on to a minute, because there's some good news when it comes to Jota as well. But it is what it is. We'll leave the Celtic Fan Collective as that. Now, Jota. Let's get on to the good news. Jota, like a fish to water. Jota pictured himself underwater, lifting a kettlebell as part of his rehabilitation. And you've got to say, fair play to him, because going underwater lifting kettlebells is no mean feat, and it just shows that he's on the right track for his rehabilitation. Now, when it comes to rehabilitation, the squad picture came out yesterday, and there was no Jota in the squad picture, but see if we look to the sort of the edge of this. Is that Quinny? Is Quinny sneaked into the picture right at the side next to Big Tony? It looks like Quinny that's sneaked into the picture there. But yeah, getting back to Jota, it's great to see the fact that Jota is part of his recovering and training in Portugal. Yes, he is that, Michelle. And it's good that he's keeping in touch with Celtic. He's travelling back and forward and keeping in touch with the Celtic staff whilst rehabbing back in his home country. And to be fair, could Jota ask the board to join him underwater, says Monty. I don't think they could hold their breath that long. But then again, maybe they could hold their breath longer than Jota, because the board have an inability to speak to the fans. So maybe they'll go underwater and they'll be like, I don't know. But anyway, we move on from that and we jump back to the picture that was put out by Celtic this morning, and it does have a lot of players smiling, and it's a good picture. It is a good picture. And it should put Celtic fans at ease. I'm still convinced that's Quinny standing next to Tony Ralston. Still convinced it's Quinny standing next to Tony Ralston. Hope he comes on this morning. We can ask him. But yeah, all things are good as far as the Celtic team are concerned. Let's face it. All things are good as far as the Celtic team is concerned. The transfer window has passed and it's over with. It's all about this. It is all about the Europa. Last night, Brendan Rodgers took to the media, and some of the details were released just before we came offline. But Brendan Rodgers had a lot to say at the media. The first question that he was asked on the media, let me get my notes. Brendan Rodgers and Benji took to the media, as you've seen in the picture, as you see the Celtic video. He was asked, you've spoken a lot about disappointment of not making the Champions League. And then, I mean, they were asked, he was asked this by the female reporter straight out, can you talk us through a bit more? You know, both clubs, both these teams that meet tonight, both missed out on the Champions League. And whilst it's time to get down to business, forget the Champions League. Forget the negativity about missing the Champions League. You know, we are where we are, so it's time to just put a stop to it and focus. Because until we do focus, and the team will be focused, let's face it, the team aren't thinking about the Champions League now. It's done, it's dusted, it's in the past. We need to focus and get on with what we can control. And the only thing that you can control is when you step over the pitch, when you step over the line on the pitch tonight, it's going to be the Europa. Brendan Rodgers says, I think both clubs actually missed out on the final qualification games. But after the disappointment, we're looking forward to this competition. He was then asked, you were keen to focus on the football. You've mentioned in the past, I wonder if this competition has the potential to do that for the support as well, to focus on the football and not the other stuff, as in, you know, the boycotts and the sack the board. The supporters will focus on the football, Brendan said. That's one of the great things about their support. They do really get behind the team, and the fans that travel tonight will get behind the team. It's as simple as that. Well, the ones that have travelled, and fair play to the ones who were delayed in Manchester, and fair play to, I don't know what happened in Edinburgh, but there were 50 odd fans delayed in Edinburgh to Frankfurt and ended up having to stay in a hotel in Frankfurt last night before they travel on this morning. But anyway, Brendan Rodgers was then asked, going into the new competition with new players, what's your general assessment of how healthy the squad is? And Brendan Rodgers says, look, before we're building, he says, there's guys that come in, there's new guys come in, they're starting to understand now how we work, how we play. Team planning and the new connections are working well. I feel it may seem easy, but guys do come in, and more than often they settle, and some guys leave. It's as simple as that. It's all about football. This team of the spirit is very strong, Brendan said. We've got a bunch of guys who really want to do well in their careers, and for them to do well in their careers, they need to perform well. there's a lot of guys that are obviously that have came to the club this window, and they will know that they will be sold Celtic on the basis that, you know, if you do well, you can get a big move. You can get a big move to another club. You get a big payday, and you know, you prove yourself at Celtic, and this is an ideal competition to do it in. How many players that have done well in Europe, and you're going to say, well, it's the Champions League, but you know, if players do well in a European context, that puts them way above what's happening in the SPFL. Because, I mean, a lot of teams will look at players and they'll say, it's just the Scottish League. You know, this is where agents will be hoping that their players excel as players. You know, this is where the light will shine on the likes of Tenecti. How long can we keep Tenecti is the answer if he does do well in this competition. But let's talk about that another day. Brendan Rodgers said, I think I've mentioned before, we're building, and the guys will continue to work and perform well. He was asked, the next question was, is there confidence? Is there a confidence? Not just putting your mark on this competition. Can you go deep into the stages of this competition? Brendan Rodgers says, I think that the plan for the team, but certainly for us, we want to have a really good go in this competition. In the Champions League last season, we were very competitive. I want us to be like that. I'd like to see this tournament here. I feel that we can improve. But as the season goes on, obviously starting tomorrow night, we'll go out, we'll push, and we feel we can do something in the competition, but we'll wait and see. You know, it's all to play for. He was then asked about the support. The support will look at the Champions League, but the competition can give you some good moments. You go back to Seville, I knew that was reared its ugly head, but I mean, you can create some good moments in football. He says we need to forget. Brendan Rodgers says, look, it's gone. We can't look back. We need to forget about the Champions League. As soon as we step over the pitch, we need to create something special, something like the memories of 2003. Can we create that? If so, yes. You know, it's going to be a great tournament, great games, and I'm really looking forward to the coaching challenge of the competition and seeing how the guys operate at this level. They know that it's possible to do really well this season. So they're obviously going into this competition really confident. You know, they know it's not the Champions League, but a lot of us have said over the years that Celtic level is the Europa. Well, now is the time to stand up and be counted. He talked about the Bayern Munich game in the summer and about progress. That's what you wanted. Everyone in the club ideally wants. But now you're in Europe and you're talking about ideally going deep in this competition. Do you feel that the club can make progress from last season? And what would be some form of progress, Brendan was asked. He said, to be honest, I haven't looked that far ahead. You just go into the competition and you want to do well. I'm not going to forecast anything or how deep we can go. You have to earn that right. You've got to win the games. You've got to win the points. And we do that starting tomorrow night. And it is. It's one game at a time. And Brendan will say that. Look, we go one game at a time. We analyse each opponent. We go one game at a time. And it's all about getting as many points on the board as we can. And ultimately, it's all about scoring goals. And then he was asked stuff about the stadium and stuff and the 2-minute walk and all the nonsense. He was then asked about it being a tough game for the players. And he said, you know, for us, it's all about performance, to take a positive result with us. We aim to do that. I wouldn't put too much emphasis on this game being the first game, but we want to do really well in the game. And he was then asked about Red Star also. He was then asked about the young Colby Donovan, and he said, look, no, for me at all, one of the things I really like about him, he's a young player. He can play in this game. He clarified that for us, which is fantastic. I have no hesitation in putting him in. He won't start. That's my prediction. Colby Donovan will not start for Celtic. Celtic will go with Tony Ralston due to his experience, but because Tony Ralston he's missed a couple of games through injury, he may not finish the game and Colby Donovan will then come in. He will not start Colby Donovan. That's my prediction. I think that Brendan Rodgers knows how to get the best out of players and he knows the importance. Excuse me. If he went with young Donovan right at the start of this game tonight, it could put Donovan under a little bit of pressure. And you don't want to do that in this competition. You want to ease Donovan in. You don't want to throw him in at the deep end. You want to just... He'll use Tony Ralston tonight and he'll get 60 odd minutes and then he'll bring Donovan in. And hopefully that we're still in the game at that point. Donovan, like he says, I don't think Donovan will start, keep Ralston fit for the weekend. He thinks that he will start and keep Ralston for the weekend. It's all about opinions, but we'll see what happens tonight. Anyway, the fact that Jota is doing fantastically well, and he took to his Instagram to put that cracking picture up. I've got to say, I do love that picture. He's always got the wee ability to just go over and above what a normal player would do. And Jota doing kettlebells under the pool, under the water in the pool is just absolutely fantastic. Dangerous if we start with Ralston, Tierney, Forrest, 3 subs used before a ball is kick. Some interesting comments coming in this morning. Celtic news wise, it is all about the game today. Cameron Carter-Vickers, he spoke yesterday. Brendan Rodgers and Benji spoke also. It's all about tonight, isn't it? There's nothing left for it. It's all about concentrating and focusing on the Europa and seeing how far we can go. For me, for one, look, it doesn't matter if we're not in the Champions League. We are where we are. A lot of people are distracted with the battle with the board. I can understand why you're distracted by the battle with the board, but at the same time, we need to focus on the team. We need to focus on the football. And I don't want to take anything away from the protest with the board, but we can't allow that to... For me personally, I think backing the team is more important than anything. You never really seen big boycotts back in the 1990s when they were trying to get things with the board. They demonstrated outside the club. Anyway, it is what it is. Make sure that you join us tonight. What a living memory that is, Baz. The one under the water, yeah. Stephen Johnson says, Baz, what time is the match on tonight? The match tonight, I can't even remember what time it starts. It'll be 8 o'clock Celtic Park time. Yeah, 8 o'clock Celtic Park's time. We will be live an hour and a half before, and then we'll be doing the watch along from 8 o'clock as normal. We'll be live at 8 o'clock, and it'll be an interesting game. So make sure that you watch it on TNT Sports and join the watch along to hopefully get a good result. And I sincerely mean that. I hope that we do well in this competition. There's a lot of clubs in that competition that I would want Celtic to finish above. One club in particular. That's all we play for. Anyway, I shall see you later on today. On that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.